Welcome one and all to the May Convergence of Network First. This is our monthly meeting to talk about the state of affairs, state of projects and efforts. And we're basically going to um, uh, allow people to enter and join the call for the next 10 minutes. We have a full itinerary in this slide, and that itinerary will repeat in the left panel of all the subsequent slides. Meanwhile, my idea is that, uh, with the exception of myself, if all of the catalysts of Network First could raise their hand in the Zoom call, that way the people joining the call could identify them. And we would use that hand raise those raised hands to um, uh, guide the conversation around the project snapshots. So I see four hands up already, so I appreciate that. And meanwhile, for anyone, especially the ones who are new to Network First, do feel free to introduce yourself in the chat thread. Put your name, put in your interests, and any other information that you'd like to share with other people to introduce yourself. All right. People are coming in. Meanwhile, from the Network First perspective, it's been a very busy month across the board. We have a few new projects that got kicked off since the last convergence. And a number of projects have been making significant progress. Um, Throughout that month, we have an important update for Codex projects, some updates for my own project, eCommons. Poetics has been making progress. We have a narrative project that Brian DeBar is heading up. So we have quite a few things to discuss. Does anyone have any questions or comments immediately before we get started? Feel free to speak up.
Joe, I have a question. So,
Sure.
again, if we are a project catalyst, we should keep the hand raised.
Yes.
Just okay. And you
Yes.
will basically like just ask us questions about the projects, or yeah, just to
Yes.
clarify the
W- w-
logistics.
Yes. The way I plan to do this is when we start the project snapshots, um, we would each catalyst would begin talking. I guess Francisco, you could start as the first catalyst. Then when you're finished with your update, um, typically make them no more than about a minute or a minute and a half. Should be able to update on your projects in that kind of time. So Francisco, when you're done with your update, you can lower your hand and mention the next catalyst, another catalyst who has their hand up, and we'll continue that until we're done.
Amazing. I can start on my side
Yes. Go ahead.
if we're
Go ahead.
ready.
Go
So
ahead.
for I know that we have some new people today here. So for those of you who I had the pleasure to connect with, my name is Francisco Marin, and I'm a founding member of the Network First Manifesto, and I'm the project catalyst for a number of initiatives, including the Network-First Codex, Network-First Semiotics, Network-First events, and Network-First ONA. And I'm also an active member in a variety of other projects. So uh, I would like to give you an update on the project that I've been catalyzing called the Network-First Codex. Basically, the goal here is to create an open foundation um, where different members of the community are gathering, and we're kind of like identifying what elements of what has been emerging in the community over the last months could be integrated into a codex, a document that can explain the network-first framework, including elements like semiotics, poetics, the 8C framework, workplace design, and other initiatives. So the goal here is uh, for any organization or any practitioner that wants to learn about network first in the future, they would have a single document that explains the approach in a self-service way. And this is an open document in the regard that participants are going to relinquish their IP rights into the document. So that way, when anybody in the future wants to create any course or any certification or any technology about network first, they don't have to be concerned about any IP implications. And this can hopefully, just mimicking what happened in the Agile movement, it can create this open foundation where different initiatives can be monetized on top of it without any arguments or any conflicts of interest, right? So I'll post it there. You're more than welcome to join the project. I'll ping the link to join in Slack now on the chat, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have on this initiative. And thanks a lot to all of you that have already joined, that are contributing on a regular basis. Sarah and Alan and Brian and the others. So yep, happy to answer any questions.
I guess, Francisco, one item, it's not necessarily a question, might be more just a follow-up item, but is there a place where members could see any interim progress on the codex?
If you go to the Slack channel,
Mhm.
you'll see basically that we are sharing some drafts on the codex. We want to be careful not to make any document really available until we don't have a proper version. But really, the only way to get an insight right now is just to join the project and access the links that we have. There are different formats in interactive format, in PDF, Word, and we're all contributing on a regular basis.
Yes.
So I have a question. So when are you expecting to finish the codex?
That's a great question. We want to push this out as soon as possible because we understand that there are some projects that are, you know, expecting to get some level of monetization, right? And this is, it's important to have a open foundation before we do that. So I think an ideal scenario would be to do it within the next 4 weeks, actually, if time allows. It might be an aggressive timeline, but it's what I would aim for. I would love to, if anybody else from the Codex project that have been contributing want to share your perspective as well, please jump in as well.
One thing I will say, just from the eCommons standpoint, is that the economics monetization effort is calibrating according to the codex. So as items get mentioned in the codex and become identified as key to network first, the Commons project will respond by discussing and codifying those items from a monetization perspective. And from what I'm hearing, what I understand from the Network First, that codex is going to be a pretty principal document that will pretty well inform any other project.
That's the idea. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so Francisco, if there's nothing else, if is there any other comments you want to make about your other projects?
No, just a
No?
comment, Joe. Maybe it would be good to clarify because again, like the catalysts have the hand raise. I'm not
Mhm.
sure if the other members can unmute themselves or not. If it's so okay, then it's perfectly fine. Just want to make sure that we have a logistics mechanism to understand when somebody has a question. This might be a with.
True. Well, we will have a Q&A session at the 45-minute mark for any leftover questions. But meanwhile, anyone who has a question could just feel free to chime in or raise a different, yeah. I'm thinking that would be the way to do that. So Francisco, feel free to call the next catalyst if you wish.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. Well, Sarah, if you want to go ahead.
Sure. So I'm Sarah D'Souza. It's nice to see everyone here, and I'm the project catalyst for Network-First Poetics, and also for a book project that we launched a while ago that hasn't been very active because, as Francisco mentioned, some projects, the book being one of them, are waiting for the codex to be completed as a first step. But Poetics has been a very active project in Network-First, and it's an open project that anyone is welcome to join at any time. So even if you haven't been involved in our Poetics calls and you're curious about what Poetics is about, please feel free to join the Slack channel, and you can see a really robust dialogue that's always going on there. And we meet weekly on Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Pacific time. I'm based in Portugal, so 6 p.m. my time.
All right.
So what is Poetics? I know that term can be confusing to some people. It's essentially the ongoing practice we have in Network-First of examining the language that we're using to describe and even to evolve and define the paradigm of Network-First. So it was my initial calling that was the inspiration for proposing the Poetics project, was just this observation that if we're really ambitious about defining a new paradigm for the way humans work together, we have to be really careful about the language that we use to describe that. Otherwise, we risk importing our hierarchy first assumptions and other social conditioning that we have into this paradigm, and the language will itself kind of have a life of its own and define the paradigm for us if we don't pay attention to it. So Poetics is a container that I steward, where we have an ongoing dialogue about the language that we're using in Network-First. And you can see evidence of the work that Poetics has done in the description of this call as a convergence. That was one of the terms that we brought into the Network-First lexicon. The term project catalyst is another word that Poetics helped to bring into the lexicon, and all of the words that we've created definitions for and that we've proposed as part of our Network-First vocabulary are contained in a glossary that's listed on the website. So on the Network-First website, in the main menu, you can scroll down to glossary and you can see all of the definitions that we've developed. And so that's sort of what a Poetics call looks like. Is it's now very much in dialogue with all the other projects. I'm a participant in, I don't know, 10 other projects, something like that. And so we regularly, bring into a Poetics call words that we're hearing that are emerging across all of the work that we're doing in Network-First that we feel either need a new definition, need a new term, and that becomes the focus of our dialogue. And when we feel that we've reached consensus about what that new term or what that new definition should be, we craft a definition, we publish it in the glossary. And of course, that is all informing the work that's being done on the codex and how we're defining the paradigm. And another really important piece of work that Poetics did as a group was really building out and developing the 8C framework that is now kind of the backbone of Network-First. We're in a phase where we're evolving that framework and looking at it at the scale of the individual, the project, and the network itself. So that's been a really fun dialogue. So I'll pause there. Happy to take questions or, expand on anything that anyone's curious about. But welcome to Poetics, and would love to have you on our calls.
Yes. Anyone with questions or comments for Sarah? I almost called you Susan.
Or
That's what
any
happened.
other regular Poetics folk want to add to whatever I said? Did I leave anything out that felt important?
I would like to give a shout out to Sarah, actually. She's a world-class catalyst and moderator of discussions, the Poetics meeting is always very informative and a terrific experience.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Joe.
I agree, and I wanted Sarah maybe to ask you like, would it make sense for you to provide a quick overview of the AC framework, which might be useful as well for the new folks here to get a quick insight on the operational framework of the community?
I could, but I feel like that would take a while.
It would take a while. So, would there be a way for people to catch up on that topic offline?
Well, I would encourage then like we organize these network guiding sessions on a monthly
Yeah.
basis. So
Yeah.
there will be, we had the first one on May 5th, the next one will be in June. So that's a
Yep.
good place to learn about that if you're interested. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, that's a great call out. Yeah, we that's now part of the Network-First events group,
Yeah.
right? That's not a separate project, but
Correct.
that's a great, so guiding is another term that we developed in our Poetics group, and we now have guiding sessions. You can think of them as onboarding or, orientation, something like that. But guiding, I suggest reading. I actually think to orient yourself to Network First, if you're new here, just reading through the glossary is very helpful. And then also, Francisco, the 8C framework is on the website as well. So that's a place that you can access all the definitions of the 8Cs.
So, Sarah, I would just, you give it the 30-second, what is the 8C framework? So people will know that if this is something they're interested in, what it is they're going to look at. Because right now we've just said it's a framework and we haven't really told them kind of like what
Sure.
function it serves. Maybe that would be helpful.
Yeah, and the 8C framework is, one could think of it as kind of the operational framework for how a network-first project unfolds. It begins, I used the word calling already when I was talking about what inspired me to launch Poetics. That's the first phase of the 8C is calling. An individual feels called to propose something to the network. And then at each phase, we come together in this convergence, right, as a phase of the 8C framework to ratify projects so that the work that we're doing is, none of the work that we do in Network First is compelled. Rather, we're contributing, and we're contributing from a place of feeling called to contribute rather than compelled to contribute. And then, kind of inspired by the classic forming, storming, norming framework, what happens once we all consent to work on something together, and how do we move through that process while maintaining a network first orientation to the work rather than hierarchy first, which is why we have words like catalyst or catalyzing rather than project lead. So the way I hold the space in Poetics is a catalyst isn't one of delegation and authority. It's one of inviting co-creation and collaboration. And so that's just to give you a taste of kind of what some of the phases of the 8Cs are, but the 8Cs represent really the core philosophy of how to work in a network first way.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. So catalysts who have spoken, you can lower your hand. I see Katerina's hand up. Katerina, do you want to talk about your project?
Sure. So yeah, first I want to say that Sarah's Poetics project is actually the most popular in my opinion. And yeah, no, I cannot really join it all the time, but I can hear sometimes when somebody else is joining. So, and it's really interesting debate. So I really recommend that one. Sarah is a great moderator. Yeah. And for my projects, I have workplace design atelier. Workplace design, we work on this project for a while, and I had great team. I had like 5 members that together we developed the whole framework for companies to implement workplace design. And right now they're all waiting for me. Sorry for that. Because I need to actually create the example of workplace design. So I'm planning to have it ready before Francisco publishes the codex, so it can be everything together. And for Atelier, so I mentioned in the group on Slack that we are planning to collaborate with a Japanese company to create some beautiful clothing for Network-First. So if you are interested in this, please join. And for workplace design, it's currently on hold, so we are not having meetings right now, but once I finish everything, I will let you know on Slack, and we are welcome to join as well.
And I'll throw in a comment for Katka that while I have not been able to join Atelier meetings either, I see incredible interplay between that project and the Semiotics project. The potential there is just limitless.
Thank you, Joe.
Yep, sure. Okay, thank you, Katka. Any questions for Katka before we move on?
Yeah, I have a question for you. So I know that you are working on your on the prototype, basically the rendering for the first case study of Network-First workplace design, right? But do you anticipate any opportunities to do any actual design within like actual companies applying Network-First moving forward?
Hopefully, yes. I know that we as community are already implementing Network-First approach in companies, so I'm hoping that we will add Network-First workplace as a addition. I'm happy to do like an experiment at the beginning and then figure it out how we can monetize it in the future. So
Sure.
yeah.
And that of course, so Francisco, if you're thinking is the linkage between workplace design and company pilot. Yeah, that's a point that I did not mention. That's a great
Yeah.
one.
I can maybe provide a quick update on that later, but I want to give an opportunity for the other catalysts
Sure.
to talk about
Sure.
that first.
Okay, Nat, I see your hand up. You can lower your hand and then update on your project.
Thanks. I just had to remember where the unmute button was.
Every time, buddy. Every time.
But yeah, I've been a bit preoccupied with other things recently because I've just been moving a whole system and stuff. Long story. But the podcast project I've recorded. Larry interviewed me for the first interview, and then Kim was very kind to record the intro and the outro for me. She gave me some options, so I still need to edit that, add some music, and put it into a sort of video format to add to the podcast. And yeah, so I'm looking to interview the rest of the project catalysts for this first series, and then we can kind of go from there. So anyone that isn't sort of booked in, please, feel free, drop me a message. I'll send you a booking link and we can kind of go from there, really, because I'm looking to get this launched in June, ideally early June, but may end up being a little bit later than that. But I think that's roughly the time frame that I'm sort of looking at. And then obviously get to interview a lot of other people from the network as well, because all of you have got really interesting stories, and that's kind of the purpose of all of this, so that we can sort of tell our stories to the world. So yeah, so that's about it from here in Croatia on a very rainy evening.
Great. Okay, Francisco, are there other catalysts that we could call upon? We still have 6 minutes.
Yeah, I see Curtis with the hand raise.
Yes.
I think Curtis, Joe cannot see you when sharing the screen.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm here.
I think Curtis and Brian are left. Yeah.
Okay, great.
And
All right.
Jay maybe wants to add something as well, but yeah, Curtis, if you want.
Sure. Thanks. Hey, everybody. Curtis Michelson here, and from Project Synthetic ONA. We have been going about 12 weeks. The purpose is to maybe solve a couple problems, but the main one being that if you're doing organizational network analysis, ONA, you often work in environments where privacy is critical, enterprise environments where people don't want to see their names on a graph or etc. And it's often hard to get this kind of data anonymized. And then the anonymization process is also fraught with problems. And so we said, the question in our project was, could we synthesize data using AI that would be representative of different types of organizations, different types of topologies, hierarchical, decentralized, and many, many variants in between. And the answer is looking like yes. So we have two project work streams. One we call Project Hephaestus. Picture the Greek god hammering out the algorithms, producing code that itself produces the synthetic data, the nodes and edges graphs. Sylvia Farasco has been our superpower there. She has a PhD in this stuff, and she knows what the heck she's doing. So we're like, thank you. Thank you, Hephaestus, basically. And then what we're doing on the other side is Project Prometheus, is we're working with the graphs and the algorithms that Sylvia's created, taking that synthetic data, visualizing it, and then seeing all the pretty stuff that we love to see on network graphs. But the purpose is really to make this more of an educational tool, an easy entry point to organizational network analysis, which is not easy. Now, I'm speaking for myself. I may have a little certification in it, but I'm dangerous if you give me Gephi. Betweenness, closeness, all this kind of nerdy stuff. It's too much. So Prometheus is bringing the fire and the power of this superpower that we have with network science and bringing it to ordinary mortals like me and you. So that's what we're doing. We're getting to the really, really juicy fun part now where we're actually playing with data. So I'm recognizing here my buddy Hamid, Johan Meerberger, who's bringing his talents, Ivana Petreska. So we'd love to have you join us at this phase. We're almost, I would say, 3-4 weeks from finish line on our project. We've got the algorithms, we're generating the code and the synthetic data. This last part is really the wrapper. It's the bow around the package. It's all going to get released on GitHub. It's our gift to the community. It will reference back to Network-First Manifesto. So as this goes global, as the GitHub repo opens and people begin pulling and forking and creating new variants on our project, we all get the credit. Yay! Yay, Network First. So that's really the ambition, is to put our landmark footprint across the world with, not just best practice. I don't like using that term, or benchmarking. We're trying to avoid those. It's really like, what is this all about? What does it mean in a future world and future of work to use these tools? And hopefully we're creating a really easy, fun entry point. So come join us if you want. The network Slack channel is open. I don't know why I'm pointing behind me here. It's right here. Okay. All right. That's all from me. And Brian, it's all yours.
Go ahead, Brian.
Thank you, Curtis. That was great and very enthusiastic. Now I feel like I want to join that.
You got to follow that.
And you'll find, those of you who are new, you'll find that you can join like an awful lot of projects because they all sound fascinating. Most of them kind of, oh, by the way, I should stop. I think I saw Jaya was on too. Jaya, did you want a minute before I go to talk about your project?
Yeah.
I don't think she had her hand up, so I don't think she's appearing over with the rest of the hand up people.
Gotcha.
If it's Hugh and not a Jaya bot, it might be a Jaya bot. I don't know.
Might be Jaya.
No, it was me.
Hey,
okay.
Jaya,
why don't you go ahead?
Okay.
I'll go last.
I'll just do it really quick. I'm outdoors. So my name is Jaya, and I'm actually leading a project called Passive ONA. And it's a great project. And you heard, I forgot who spoke just before me. Sorry, guys.
Curtis.
I am hiking, so I'm out of breath. You heard somebody else talk just before me about organization network analysis. If you're in HR or in any other profession, and you want to learn more about how we use data to understand how work is being done, Passive ON is for you. So I would highly recommend that you join us. It's a great conversation, a lot of good conversations, great place to actually see how work gets done and so on. So I'll leave you with that because I'm running out of breath.
All right.
But thank you for the opportunity to talk a little bit about Passive ONA.
Pleasure. And of course, feel free to inquire Jaya further about passive.
Joe, I think we lost your audio there for a second.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, good. Yeah, so I want to say that, of course, feel free to catch up with Jaya about passive ONA and its connection with the other ONA project that Curtis is leading. Okay, so Brian, I don't think we have too many project proposals this month. Is that true?
We do have two proposals.
Two of them? Okay.
Two of them are from Larry.
Okay. Okay.
Sure.
So Brian,
Yeah, let me quick wrap up
Yeah.
first of all, thank you, Jaya. Sorry to put you on the spot. I didn't know you were
good
hiking.
thing.
No
Good
worries.
thing.
Okay. Second of all, as you've been listening to these descriptions, you probably noticed that there's some things that feel maybe kind of like input, like stuff where we're creating the infrastructure and the language and maybe a book and maybe some technology stuff in terms of synthetic data. All of these things are inputs into like what NFM is becoming. And then on the other side, there are other projects that are more about kind of like an output, right? So, we look at what the inputs are. Maybe we look at Poetics and the language that we've developed in Poetics, the terminology that we've defined, and then we try to do something with that. Sometimes the project ends up being a little bit of both, like Sarah's Poetics project did, because we ended up creating a framework, and that framework is an output. But this is the flow, right? And we're all in this flow together, building the plane and flying it kind of at the same time. The narrative project, just to speak to that real quickly, is the output side of things. Is that as we develop the thoughts, as we develop the frameworks, as we develop the story and the pictures and the symbology from semiotics, as we do that, how do we weave that together into some kind of coherent story or storytelling experience for people, in an orderly fashion, in a like there's a beginning, middle, and end kind of thing. Because right now we've got a lot of stuff and it's kind of disconnected a little bit from each other. So we need to do some weaving, and that's what this project is. So if you're the kind of person that has been involved in messaging, internal comms, marketing, branding, anything of that nature, where you're thinking about telling the story about something, whether it's a product or a service or whatever it might have been, we'd love to have you join. We certainly want input from each of the existing projects in some way or other. So we've got about 8 or 9 people that have already joined so far, but we can accommodate more. So if you're interested, let me know. And we're going to get started this Thursday. So you've got a couple of days to think about it before we kick it off, and you can come in on the ground floor. Okay.
Excellent.
Back to you,
Terrific.
Joe.
I love that analysis of building the plane while flying it. That's great. Okay. Anyone else anyone with questions for Brian or any other catalysts who wish to speak up? I think we're done with the catalysts at this point.
Joe,
Right?
I just wanted to maybe provide a very quick update on the company pilot and
Yes,
Semiotics
please
I
do.
covered earlier, just very, very quick. So with the company pilot, we've been running the network first approach within both Cognitive Talent Solutions, my own company, and a very interesting company called Odilon in Brazil. It's a company of about 2,000 people in the public transportation industry. They're running this pilot with a group of 120 people within their shared services center. And we are in the process basically of conducting right now active and passive O&A within Odilon, implementing the decentralized voting system. And Miguel is playing a key role here as the implementation lead for Odilon. So Miguel, if you want to jump in and kind of like provide a quick update on everything that's happening within Odilon, it would be great for the community to know. I think it's a great milestone. And other than that, yeah, we've been doing some very interesting work on semiotics. If you're passionate about symbology, we've been creating this network-first mandala, as we call it, that has been used in the network guiding sessions to explain the whole ecosystem to new members. So Miguel, if you want to add something before.
Yeah, I'll be really quick. Basically, what we were planning with them, they are already working and 3 years now with self-management and a model similar to holacracy and working in circles. So the idea is to see the convergence between the approaches of network first and what they're already doing in separate environments, and also understand if they really working like that. The O&A will reveal if there's some reminiscence of hierarchy and other behaviors that are not coherent or convergent with network first or self-management. So it will be really interesting. So basically, we are waiting their data to begin, but we already set up the initiatives and the schedule to move forward.
Awesome. Okay, so that takes care of the project snapshots. We can move on to project proposals. Is Larry on the call?
Yes, I am indeed.
Okay. All right. So Francisco or Brian, if you can furnish the links to the voting site, if you haven't already, and Brian can start talking. Go ahead.
Or Larry can start talking.
Or Larry, Brian.
When either of us talk, it's the
You're a
same
two-headed
thoughts.
beast.
Yeah, we are. We have
We share a brain, Larry. We share a brain.
we do. And I don't know if I'm the left or the right or the forebrain or the medulla oblongata, whatever. Anyway, I proposed two projects. I've been with NFM a few months now, and a couple of areas of my past and expertise have to do with this. So I proposed two projects. The first of which has two layers. The initial layer is a knowledge content management system. And then the second layer that sits atop that, if you will, if you're graphically thinking about it, would be a learning management or a learning and development kind of a layer. We're producing out of these projects, we're producing a lot of artifacts. There are documents, PowerPoint presentations. There's a lot of video content of the project meetings, the weekly meetings. There are transcripts of those projects. There are interim postings of graphics and those kinds of things that are being shared. And in a Slack channel, if you're familiar with Slack, sometimes finding those things is difficult because they wind up being up in the channel or back chronologically anywhere between a couple of days and a couple of months. So there's material, there's artifacts and intentional material, and then there's sort of byproduct. And it's not right now terribly discoverable. It's not in a single repository, not in a single place where you could go and do some research on it and either just find that particular artifact or somehow have it blended with others when you're doing a general search for information about a particular topic. So a content knowledge management framework, architecture, system, set of tools, those kinds of things are what helps accumulate all of it, makes it more discoverable. We've also talked internally about how do we share, curate this information in such a way that it's meaningful for particular audiences, whether that is external to the NFM community or if it's internal. How is it that we communicate that in a way that it's essentially a learning activity? So in doing that work, that's a work of learning and development traditionally in organizations. Not to borrow too much or transfer over too much from the hierarchy first type organization, but these are functions, functionalities, knowledge, content management, as well as learning and development. I require, and I'll get into the second proposed project here in a second. I'm an idea person, and I like getting things kicked off. I like, in traditional terms, not what we're talking about here, catalyzing and spark plugging, if you will, ideas and contributing in that way and from my experience in education. I not only enjoy doing that, I suffer when I get into detail work, project management and record keeping and that kind of thing. So I'm putting a call out now to anyone in the community who's interested in knowledge management, learning and development, to help me structure what the project management will look like on that and structure the mechanics of rolling that out, with whom I can really work to help kick off these efforts. And then all of the people who have interest in this, I really would love to have your participation in the project, should it be ratified by the group. Okay, the second one is a little separate. Over the last few years, I've gotten involved with looking at corporate culture. Now, this is not what is borrowed and brought in by the local sociological culture. That's not what we're talking about here, like an American culture or Western society culture or a South African culture or whatever. We're not talking about that kind of a culture. We're talking about what are some of the guiding values that occur in an organization, and how do those get expressed behaviorally? How people treat each other primarily is what we're looking at. So I'm looking at, the question is, could we have an analysis of what people feel that their participation in NFM and their behaviors that they observe in NFM in the interactions, how does that bespeak of the values that NFM has? And we do claim to have certain values. I won't go into them, but we do claim to have those, some transparency and those kinds of things, collaborative freedom, those kinds of values, if you will. We have those. But are they really reflected behaviorally? And what does that snapshot look like? And feed it back to the community. When I work with organizations about this, a next step is how collaboratively, collectively, across the whole organization, what are the things that they feel a need to work on to make a little bit better in coming out of that analysis. So in a way, it's kind of like ONA. It's not ONA, not organizational network analysis. It doesn't propose to do any of that. It's just, but it is like it in that it is kind of a mirror, and it says, what does this organization look like behaviorally, and how do I participate in it? And where would I like to see change in that organization? And once again, I'm looking for someone to, or someone's, plural, to pick up on the running of it and the process of it and the project management, as well as being contributor to it. I see the culture project could be really short term, like a 5-week kind of a project. I see the knowledge and content management having some legs and moving forward past the initial. Usually, it's like a 10-week framework for new projects. I could see it moving, past that once the things in the 10 weeks are accomplished, like the architecture and where are we going and how are we defining our different terms and that kind of thing. So those are the two projects: knowledge, content management, learning and development, and culture being the other project.
Terrific. Any immediate questions or comments for Larry?
I just had a comment about the sign in, because sometimes people ask questions about that. So I thought I'd cover it real quick. So Francisco put the link in the chat. You would go out, you'd click on the link. It's going to then ask you for the email address that NFM knows about, which is usually your work address. Okay, your work email address. It'll then send you a code to your work email address. So you have to go out and get it, copy that code, bring it back, and then paste it into the new page where it's asking you for the code. Then you can get in and vote. Francisco, you want to talk briefly about how the voting works for how many votes it has to get to pass?
Yeah, just very quick. And by the way, Larry, once your proposals get ratified, I'm more than happy to support you with the logistics and the project management aspects. And I think those two are great proposals, and I'm looking forward to them being ratified. With regards to the voting, yes. So as Brian explained, you join the link, enter your email, your work email that you use when signing up. Then you receive the code, then you can vote. The proposals are open for 7 days. They need to get 25 votes or more to get ratified, and a majority of 4 votes. You can either vote for, abstain, or against. Abstain and against votes still count towards the 25 quorum. And you need to have at least 51% of 4 votes for it to get ratified, right? And yeah, that's pretty much it. Just take into consideration that if you just joined the community, it might happen that you will not be able to vote until the following wave. In any case, if you had that situation, just reach out to me and I can try to figure it out on a case-by-case basis.
One question. I was just trying to vote. I was able to vote for one project, and now everything disappeared, and I have a message, no proposals found.
Yeah,
Katka
that's
did the
another
same
issue
thing to
that
me.
has been known to happen. If you had experienced that, the quickest fix is just sign out and sign in again and vote for the other
Yeah.
proposal.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was
sorry for that.
able to
We're
see.
trying to figure that out.
So I'm example of that.
Then it's an
All right.
undocumented feature.
Yeah, Katka, it's saying the same thing happened to me just now. I just went in and it did the
Yep.
exact same thing. I did what Francisco said, which
Okay.
was to log back in a second time. So I got a second code, came in again, and then I was able to vote for the second one.
Okay. Thank you.
Great. Okay, so let's move on to the Q&A. Any questions immediately that people would like to chime in, and we can also have Brian look through the chat thread to pick out any notable comments or questions there.
I haven't seen any questions so far. My system, though, likes to drop and then it wipes the chat. So if it was before, like 2 minutes ago, then I might have missed it. So, like, go ahead and take yourself off mute and tell Joe what your question is, and one of us will answer it.
Yep.
And I think Zane had earlier the hand raised, but I'm not sure if she had any question or not. Zane, feel free to unmute yourself if you have any questions.
I only to say good luck to everybody.
Oh, that's nice. Appreciate. And to yourself as well. Okay.
I
Curtis
do
has
see
a
one
good
question. I do see
Yeah.
a question from Curtis. What kind of consumer reads the codex? Maybe we should
Let me put a little color on the question for you.
Yeah.
Something we're discovering in our synthetic project is that, we spent the first 3, and I think Nico's in this call. He remembers first few sessions just, what are we doing here? What is this all about? What could it really become? Who are the actors? Who are the stakeholders? We created a lot of grounding material, kind of like our own internal codex. We called it the ontology. And what we found is that building out the other tools using AI, right? Using CodeGen, for example, the ontology is a grounding document. So one way to ask this question is the consumer a person? Could it be an agent? Could I use the codex as a piece of ontology, as context for my prompt? And which way do we optimize it? Can you produce 2 versions? Like this is the story right now with marketing. SEO is turning into GEO, right? People used to hack SEO for search engine optimization. Now it's generative engine optimization because the agents are going to read your webpage, not anybody else. So you see where I'm going with this. This is kind of a broad question. I'm just curious if you guys have thought about it at Codex.
Yeah, thanks. It's a very interesting question, Kurt. So at the moment, most of the efforts have been focused on identifying what the key components of the codex are, right? And we're in the process of putting that together. We haven't really gone into any persona analysis yet. Kind of like the only discussion about that is that we wanted this to be used by both organizations that want to implement network first approach as it is, organizations that want to create their own flavor of network first, and organizations that want to use these principles to create something new altogether from scratch. And this is kind of like similar to what happened with the Agile Manifesto, right? That in Agile, there was the Agile Manifesto, there was an open foundation. Some companies like Spotify, they created the Spotify model that integrated Agile principles together with squads and guilds and other innovative concepts. Then there were some paid frameworks there like Save, Scale, and Scrum, and so on, right? So yeah, we're still like in early stage there, but it's definitely something that we can touch with in the next sessions. And you and any other the ones to join and join the part of the conversation is welcome to join as well.
Curtis, I would also say that I think that if I was a digital intelligence, I would benefit from both the linear and the nonlinear story of network first, right? So the codex is kind of a nonlinear item, and we frankly a lot of our projects are proceeding in nonlinear ways, in part because when you throw hierarchy out the window, you get a lot of nonlinear conversation going on. But I think we're going to try to have both. I think we're going to have like a non-linear, the codex as a compendium of all of the essential things. And then we'll turn that into a linear version in the narrative. And I would imagine if we were going to feed an AI or an agent with it, we'd feed them both.
Yep. Quite agreed. Great comment. Great input. Any other questions or comments? All right. Okay. With that, we have an upcoming convergence on the 2nd of June. We have our next eCommons project on the 12th. That's tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern time. Catalysts. Would you like to mention any upcoming meetings? Maybe Francisco, you want to talk about the next Codex meeting, what you have in mind this week?
Oh, sure. So yeah, the next steps for the codex. I mean, codex just gave me a great idea, right, on uh, defining the audience. But we're in the process right now of kind of like figuring out the visual identity of the document. We've been playing with tools like Gamma, which is very interesting, right? They use AI to kind of like create certain design. But we all agree that we wanted to create something that felt like memorable and unique and with a human touch. So yeah, we are in the process of engaging different. If you happen to have any background in graphic design or yeah, visual identity, your skill will be very much useful in this context. So that's kind of like what we are anticipating. And yeah, other than that, continue in building the different components of the codex as it grows.
Yep. Terrific. Terrific.
I have a
Sarah,
quick
go ahead.
logistical thing to pop in with. Just for folks who are new to the community, we have a process in place for adding you to our meeting invitations that involves joining the Slack channel first. So that's the way, if you're sitting here going, gosh, all of this looks so interesting and I'd love to join, but like, how do I get involved in this virtual space? That's the flow.
Right.
Is you got to join the Slack channel for the project. And plenty of us are happy to help with Slack navigation if you need support with that. But if you join the Slack channel, even if you don't see yourself, really contributing there, that is how we know who wants to be in that project. And then we update our Google Calendar invites to our meetings based on who's in the channel.
Right.
So I just wanted to add that in.
And if you want to join a meeting, at least on my end, please enter your email address so we know how to add you to that calendar invite. And Sarah, while we're here, anything you'd like to say about the Poetics project? What you have in mind this week?
Yeah, this week, well, we're meeting on our usual same bat time, same bat channel, Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Pacific. And what we're going to be looking at, assuming that I work on it before I know I will, is my expanded version of the 8C framework, really building out the layers of it at the individual level and at the network level, since the artifact that we've already produced really focuses on kind of the project work cycle as an operational framework. And what we've been exploring is how do the 8Cs apply to individuals in terms of the individual transformation that takes place just by participation in network first. And part of our North Star in building this is that it's something that by participating, you yourself are changed in some in some meaningful way through your participation. And so working to describe that through the 8C lens, and then also at the network scale, thinking of the 8Cs as a framework for a kind of maturity model of how a network-first organization goes from zero to robust, active, alive, vibrant network. And so that's what we'll be talking about this week in Poetics.
Great stuff. It's part of a larger pattern. Like what we noticed, if I might chime in, that there's a fractal nature to things like this where you're seeing patterns repeat at different levels. So there's an individual level or organizational level and really a global or cultural level as well. So interesting stuff. Okay, we have 11:56 Eastern time. Any other comments or questions before we close?
Just wanted to mention quickly that if anybody in the community is interested ever in submitting a proposal because they want to become a project catalyst, they can do so with the link that I just shared on the chat as well. So it will be, once it's proposed, it will be active as per the following the convergence.
Yes. Look at all these faces.
And if you're worried, I don't know if I know what this Catalyst stuff is about, we have a Catalyst group that meets to talk about Catalyst things. Yeah. And so if you feel like, I want to jump in there, but I need a community, I need a support group of other Catalysts, we've got you covered.
We have everything.
Yep. Excellent. Great talk. Great convergence as usual. I'm looking forward to catching up with everybody offline and over the next few weeks. And carry on. That's a C word, carry.
Well done, Joe. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Great job, Joe.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Mike.